Oi boys, welcome back to another video on the channel. We are back with some Origin chat as both teams have released their 17-man squads and there are a couple of forced changes. So let's get into it. First up with the Blues, we have Tedesco, To'o, Burton, Crichton, Daniel Dubois. That wraps up the back five. Halves unchanged, Jerome Luai, Nathan Cleary. The forward pack, we have Jordan McLean, Apisai Koroisau, Jake Trbojevic, Cameron Murray, Liam Martin in the back row, and Isaiah Yeo at lock. On the bench, unchanged, Damien Cook, Angus Crichton, Junior Paulo, and Siosifa Talakai. 18th man, Jackie Whiten. For the Queensland Maroons, we have Kalyn Ponga, Selwyn Cobbo, Valentine Holmes, Dane Gagai, and Murray Ta'ulangi wraps up that back five. In the halves, we have Cameron Munster, Daly Cherry Evans, and in the forward pack, starting with the front row, Lindsay Collins, Ben Hunt, Josh Papali'i. Back row, we have Kurt Capewell, Jeremiah Nanai, and Tino Fa'aso Maliawi at lock. The bench, Harry Grant, Jai Arrow, Paddy Carrigan, and Tom Gilbert. 18th man, Tommy Flegler. So what are we thinking? For the Blues, the one force change, Payne Haas unavailable, so Jordan McLean makes his debut in the front row. What a game to make your debut in. And on the extended bench, Reece Robson makes his way into the camp. As for the Maroons, surprisingly, that 1 to 5 is unchanged. It isn't all panic stations, you know, Queensland did hang in there for the most part. I would have thought that Ta'ulangi and Dane Gagai spots would have been in jeopardy, but Billy stuck solid, and judging off how he's been talking throughout the Origin series, we should have expected it. Lindsay Collins remains as a starter, and Jeremiah Nanai makes his debut as a starting back rower in place of Felice Fusi, who's unavailable due to family issues, and I think he's in the US right now. Wishing him all the best and hoping he gets through whatever it is he's going through at the moment. Their debutant on the bench, Tom Gilbert, steps in after having a cracking game against the Broncos this past weekend, gets brought into camp and is in the extended squad. So who do I think will win? I'm obviously going to back Queensland to get in. So instead we'll do what we did back in the day and we'll just compare the packs and have a little chat about the teams a little more in depth. Starting with the back five. Like I said, I thought Gagai's number got called. I thought Murray Ta'ulangi would have been replaced with Corey Oates. Dane Gagai, man, this is one of his worst Origin series for quite some time. He actually started the season off pretty good, but got injured and came into Origin 1 week after returning back to club footy, and yeah, he hasn't been producing the typical Dane Gagai Origin performances that we're so used to seeing. Win or lose, I think this is definitely Dane Gagai's last appearance in States of Origin, and for that reason, I'm hoping he turns in one of his better performances, or maybe his best. Another player I thought would have been under fire, Murray Ta'ulangi, and I thought they would have brought in the experienced Corey Oates, but Oates isn't even in the squad. Honestly, everyone in this back five, except for KP, was pretty average in game 2. As for the New South Wales Blues, dude, their wingers in particular have been absolute weapons for this whole series. Brian To'o, Daniel Dubois, especially after being criticised for his selection, both these boys have one job and they do it very well. In fact, they're the best at it in the league. As for their skipper, James Tedesco, he's had a pretty solid series himself, but doesn't really get talked about as much, only because he's held to that standard, which is pretty unfair. His average performances could pass his career bests for regular players in the league. The contrast between both fullbacks is it's very interesting. As for their centres, Matty Burton, did we expect anything less from Matt Burton? He slid right into that back five like he's been playing with them since the series begun, and that actually is exactly what happened. The chemistry, which is a thing, the chemistry's there with his ex-Panthers comrades, if you will. So him playing the way he did in game 2 wasn't really a surprise, if I'm being honest. And I'm not trying to downplay his performance, but you couple that with Dane Gagai not having the greatest series he's had, the stage was set for Burton to thrive, and that he did. As for Critter, he's been good, he's been alright. No disrespect, but if anyone's getting replaced, it'll most likely be him. But after a win, there was no shot of that happening. As for the halves, look, it comes down to the pack, the battle between the pack. The cliche saying, if they lay the platform, it'll determine who thrives in these halves positions. You have your rare breeds, your Cameron Munsters, who is truly a game-breaking type of player. If the forward pack aren't laying the platform, he's the type that could still get going forward with a backwards moving pack. A player that can create something out of nothing, you know? A momentum shifter, or like I said, a true game breaker. The best number 6 in the league, taking on the best number 7 in the league in Nathan Cleary, who does the same but in a different way. He has different qualities. He won't be fending his way or stepping his way through traffic, but he can be just as effective with his boots. He is the best general play kicker in the league. There's no debate about that. He just is. Sure, he's a filthy roach, but you gotta give credit where it's due. And Cleary, he's really that guy, with a big emphasis on that. Yeah, finally the forward pack and the bench. Like I said, for the most part, this is where the game will be won and lost. In Game 1, New South Wales pack got rolled. Game 2, the Queensland pack got rolled, with minor changes to both teams in both matches. Actually, the big changes: no Ruben Cotter, Tino moving to lock as good as he is. I'm not sure he's as effective as he is in the front row or as Ruben Cotter is at lock. And Jake Trbojevic, snubbed in Game 1, came back in Game 2 with a purpose, and he locked that middle down. Can't really go through each player in the forward pack for both teams. I'm just looking forward to the battle between the packs in general. As for the bench, who has the more effective bench? I still think Queensland have the more effective of the two. You know, New South Wales pretty much copied their homework and chucked Cookie on their bench. They got Uppy starting. Again, it comes back to that chemistry thing. Another Panthers boy, and they're calling it a master stroke, but I thought it was obvious. As if you wouldn't chuck Uppy in the side to begin with, playing alongside guys he's won a competition with: Isaiah Yeo, Nathan Cleary, Jerome Luai, Matty Burton, Steve Crichton, Brian To'o, you know? I thought it was obvious. But yeah, anyway, Junior Paulo a standout coming off it. Can he do that for 2 games in a row? That remains to be seen. Paddy Carrigan still had a pretty decent game. And the inclusion of Tom Gilbert after his performance this past weekend, I'm pretty keen to see how he does. I thought Beau Fermor would have gotten his spot given he was named in the side before Gilbert, but I think Gilbert essentially just played his way into the side. And rightfully so, man. He was so damaging, so so physical, I guess. Tailor-made for the Origin arena. But yeah, boys, that'll wrap up my little preview of States of Origin Game 3, or my thoughts on the sides at least. It's truly mouth-watering going through both teams on paper and just comparing the two. I didn't want to run through each individual player as that would take way too long, so we basically just talked about what I was looking forward to. If you got any thoughts on these sides, let me know in the comment section down below. Let me know who you think would win. It should be a cracking decider at Suncorp Stadium. As always, if you enjoyed that, would like to see more Rugby League related content or more content in general, be sure to run straight that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you later.